Hey guys, welcome to Prison TV. My name is Jayashree Hochindani and I'm going to ask you one very interesting question right now, and that question is, have you ever lived a moment that you saw in your dream before? Because I have, and like so many other people have, and they've just texted me and be like, Jayashree, why is this happening? And not just that, but you get certain visions suddenly, like it's not a dream exactly, but you just have that vision and it comes for real. You're like, oh my god, I've seen this happen for real. So in case that has happened and you're not able to understand it, we're here today to discuss Akashic Records with none other than Deepa Pant, who teaches and also does Akashic Record readings for people. So guys, getting back, let's ask Deepa Pant the first question. What are Akashic Records?
Hello Jayashree, super excited to be here and to be sharing about Akashic Records. Akashic Records are records of every soul and its journey across various lifetimes. So, it's not just the actions and the deeds that a soul may have done across lifetimes, but also about every thought and every intent that a soul has that are stored in the records. And it comes from the Sanskrit word Akasha, which means space, which is the fifth element, and may I say is the most exciting and the most magical element because it contains layers and levels of consciousness, and that's where Akashic Records are also stored.
How can accessing Akashic Records help us?
So Akashic Records not just hold the data of all the past lifetimes, but also has the blueprint of the present lifetime that a soul has chosen. And so typically what happens is, when a soul comes, chooses a lifetime, comes on earth, and it typically forgets where it's coming from, and that there is much more to life than what it perceives through its 3D existence. And when we connect to the Akashic Records, there are, we get answers to a lot of whys, a lot of questions that we may have or a soul may have, like, why is this relationship not working? Why can't I have children? Or it can be, why don't I have, why is this career not taking off? Or why don't I have abundance in my life? Or something like, what business should I do? Should I do this or that? Or something like, okay, maybe it can be like, what are these recurring dreams that I keep getting again and again? Or it can be something which is at a much deeper level, where you feel that, what am I doing here? What's the purpose of my life? Why am I here? And what's beautiful is Akashic Records not just give answers to, your whys, but also lets gives answers to how. So once you know why is this wrong or why is this not happening, you would like to know that, how do I do this? How can I improve this? Or how can I be better? And that's where, there are revelations. So there's guidance as to what a soul can now go ahead and do to become a better version of itself.
When did you first come across Akashic Records?
So my spiritual journey began about 5 years back. And it was mostly about inner work, connecting to my inner self, my spiritual guides, connecting to the higher consciousness. And then I started seeing these beautiful, vivid, vibrant geometric patterns. And then there was also this very, very interesting matrix with sacred symbols. And so I was very, very intrigued. What are these visions that are coming to me? What is it that I'm seeing? And I reached out, tried to find out, what this all is about. And Neelu, who initiated me into my spiritual journey, she said that maybe, you are ready for some kind of knowledge, higher knowledge, and why don't you try reading and learning how to read Akashic Records? So I said, why not? Definitely, I wanted to give it a try. And since then, there's been no looking back. I started with my records, then reading it for friends, family, and then a whole lot of people who wanted to ask, questions and find out answers to their whys.
What was your first Akashic reading like?
My first Akashic reading was for myself, and it was almost like surreal experience. I wasn't really expecting that it would turn out like this, where I will ask a question, and when I actually heard the answers and I actually saw the visions, and then of course over the time I've understood how to connect it to the feelings. And so there are visions, there are feelings, there are messages which come to you. So, and they all connect very beautifully, give you the answers with a lot of clarity. And so when it started coming, it was almost as if I couldn't believe what was happening. How could I hear those words suddenly, or those visions that I could see. And the answers were also very simple yet very profound. There were answers on my soul purpose, which gave me clarity on what path I am on and what I need to do and where I need to be. It was very interesting.
What was the most challenging Akashic record reading you've done for someone, and how did your Akashic reading help him or her?
There have been quite a few challenging ones. Also, what I've seen is that when you do readings for people who are close to you, can be your close family member, friends, there is always a bit of a doubt where you feel that I don't want my own personal understanding, background, my own belief system, my mind to sort of come and interfere in the readings. There's this friend of mine who reached out, and she was going through some issues. And as any friend would do, I started giving her, some kind of an advice that maybe you should try this, you could do that. And she said that, let me also try and look up in my records if there's any kind of guidance. And we reached out, and the answer that we got was exactly opposite of what I was asking her or what I was suggesting to her. So, which was interesting, because intention now in both situations where I was giving her advice was the same. Intention was, that I give her an advice for her best good. And when we reached out for her record reading also to the record keepers, again the intent was the same. However, when I was giving her the advice, it was coming from a 3D view which I had. Whereas when the masters or the universe is giving her the advice, it's coming from a much higher plane. It's an overview. You can call it a 7D plane or a 9D plane, whatever, and which is also connected to her soul purpose. So it's like a very it's an advice that comes keeping the big picture in mind, and it comes for the greatest best good of the soul. Also, there was this reading that I was doing for a person. She had come with issues of marital conflict. And interestingly, much earlier on in life, she, along with her present partner, had decided that, they would marry each other. They were made to be lifetime partners, meant to be. And so despite all differences of a very different social status, of very different personalities, the way they looked, the way they carried themselves, their backgrounds, they decided to go ahead and get married and have children. However, now they were at a stage where there was a lot of friction. The person felt very throttled, very suffocated in her relationship. So we reached out, checked her records and asked for guidance. And so what was shown was that she was leading a kind of a dual life where, she was a different person A, when she was with herself, and when she was with the husband, suddenly, her whole personality changed because she was trying to conform to those standards of expectations. And hence there was this suffocation and stifling. And also there was this underlying current of control by her partner. So we reached out and we asked, guidance that as to why this is happening. And so typically when you ask, reach out in records, what's shown to you is, answers can be shown. They can come from this present lifetime, or they can come from any previous lifetime that's connected. So we were shown a previous lifetime where this person in question, the husband, is actually a very powerful occultist with shades, very negative energies and shades of grey. And he takes a fancy to this person, this lady, and she belongs to not a very wealthy family, a very young girl, and she's also in awe of, this new life and whatever. But somehow this person slowly starts taking complete control of her life, and so much so that she is actually pushed to a level where finally she, the vision that was shown was where she kills that person, and she keeps stabbing the person with a dagger till his last breath, and all the while shouting that, I want to be free. So that vision itself was so powerful. It was gory. It was very, very strong. And now, what do you say this? How do you say this to a person, right? So again, what is very beautiful is whenever the visions are shown, they're shown for a reason, because that person is meant to know this. The person is ready to know this. Also, the way the messages come across, the universe also tells you how to relate it to the person. So it comes with a lot of unconditional love. So when I could tell the person, the message was that, you did this. However, so of course, when you do such an act, which is so strong, very, very strong karma, she then now has chosen this lifetime to again be with the same partner and, learn her lesson and overcome some certain challenges. But the message that also was relayed to her was that when she did that act, she actually helped the other soul, helped the other soul who was throttling her and controlling her. She gave him release, because that was a release from a life of a lot of negative karmas, which he would anyways have to balance. And but now, so interestingly, they both have chosen this lifetime, where the lesson for this lady is that, she needs to put her foot down, but with a lot of unconditional love, not with aggression, not with drastic extreme steps, of course. And the lesson for the person the husband is that, he needs to not come from that fear of losing her or controlling her. So control comes always from some kind of a fear. His fear is that he will lose her. So he needs to trust her, learn to trust and say that, if he really truly loves her and she loves him back, so she is not going to go anywhere. So and now when I relayed these messages to her, interestingly, she resonated with it, and they realized, they both also discussed this amongst themselves. They both resonated with it, and they realized that, below all these layers of friction and that strife and struggle, there is a lot of love that they have for each other. So it's like, they have sort of rediscovered that love for each other, and they're willing to look at life again with a very new perspective, and determined to make it work out together.
What have you learned out of this experience?
So interestingly, every reading that I do, it not just helps the person, the soul that's seeking the answers, but it also helps me. It gives me a new perspective, another dimension that I can see, or I can understand or learn. So what I learned from this reading was that, there are always set patterns that a soul goes through. Can be patterns which are repeating in a lifetime, or can be repeating over various lifetimes. And it's just that, slight changes are there. The mother might become, the son in one lifetime. The son might become a daughter, daughter might become an aunt. So we all soul groups keep revolving each other. There are similar situations always, similar circumstances with slight changes here and there. However, the problem statement remains the same, and the lesson that one needs to learn remains the same. So till a soul learns that lesson, it will not come out of that loop that it goes into.
In what state can one access the Akashic Records?
Akashic Records are accessed through astral projection. So one raises his or her consciousness and connects to that higher plane with the masters, where who keep the keepers of records, and connects to that higher energy to get answers, to receive information, guidance for the soul that is seeking answers. And it's all done with permission. So the soul who needs, or who's seeking the answers, needs to give the permission to the person who's channeling it for him or her.
So Deepa, since you've learned how to access your Akashic Records, I was curious that have you been curious about accessing your past lifetimes and just meeting your previous versions of yourself, or rather different yous? Creepy question, but yes, I'm super curious.
My own lifetimes? Well, your guess is as good as mine. So I was, of course, very curious about my lifetimes, and I've seen quite a few. Just to tell you in short, there's been one where I was in Germany as an officer, army officer. There was one where I was actually a leader of a tribe and serving my people. There was one where, I was a merchant and I had given up all my belongings and started serving in a temple. So there have been many, many lifetimes. We can probably have a session on that. But what I've learned is that what I've felt about it is that it's very, very, first of course, it's fascinating, right? Because you are seeing so many lifetimes. You realize that you've gone through so much, seen so much, and you've been there, done that, and then it's liberating in a way, because interestingly, whatever lifetimes that I saw, many of them I've seen the last moments where the soul leaves the body. And there are these profound messages which come, about the lessons that the soul has learned or is still left to be learned. And so, there is that fear of death. You sort of overcome it. You realize that there is much more and beyond, to just one lifetime. And the third is it's empowering, because when a soul goes through all these lifetimes, there's so much of knowledge, experiences, wisdom that it accumulates. And what you are today, you have an imprint of all that knowledge and wisdom of all those lifetimes, which you can access, or which comes to you at the right time if you need it, if it aligns with the soul purpose or path of this lifetime. So it's really empowering.
So how long did it take you to get good at this?
It's a continuous learning process. Every reading that I do, there's something new that I learn. However, to answer your question, I have been doing this for a year now and honing my skills.
So Deepa, do you have any final message for our audience?
My message for each one of you out there is that each one of us can connect to this higher consciousness. It's all about our belief systems. So if you believe this is your chosen path, and if you believe that you can connect to this higher consciousness, it'll start happening from day one of your first Akashic record reading. Or otherwise, if there is a self-doubt, then you can spend a lifetime trying to connect and be doubtful. So it all eventually boils down to what your belief systems are. And very interestingly, I've been getting these messages very strongly, where this knowledge needs to go to as many people as possible, needs to reach out far and wide. So starting October, I'll start teaching how to access records, how to channelize the messages, and the link is being shared with you. Please feel free to reach out to me for more details, and I'll be happy to share them with you. So, wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much, Deepa, for joining us here at Prism TV today. And for those of you who would like a consultation with Deepa or would like to join her courses on Akashic readings and just do it for yourself, be able to do it for others, you can always contact her on the details below. Definitely like, subscribe to our channel and get in touch with us in case you're curious or need clarity about a certain topic. We listen to you and make our content, and all of you who've been writing to me about my videos, thank you so much for your feedback, and we love you all so much. We want to make content that helps you all, and have a beautiful week ahead. Namaste.